Hello, in this tutorial, we're going to create and deploy a Node.js and Express.js application to AWS Elastic Beanstalk. So before we get started, you need to have a few things. Number one, you need an AWS account. You can get this just by going to aws.amazon.com and answering a few questions. You should be able to create an account. Next, you need to install Git. So this is available at git.scm.com. Super easy. All you have to do is click this download button. It automatically recognizes your operating system. And for setup, go to the documentation, and I went to get going with Git, watched that 4-minute video, and was ready to get started with Git. Finally, you need to install the EB CLI. So I'll put this link in the description. You can also get this by just searching on AWS EB CLI install. So you just have to run the single pip install command and set the environment variable. One thing to note is here, instead of Python 37, for me, it was Python 38. It'll be whatever version of Python you have, or whatever the newest one is, depending on if you just downloaded it. Okay, once you have that, we're ready to get started. I'm going to create a directory. So I'll call it Node.js project 1. Now I'm going to navigate to that directory. So cd Node.js project 1. And now I'm going to initialize the repository. So that is with git init. Okay, now I can open it up in Visual Studio Code. You can also open it up in whatever code editor you like. Just you won't be able to use the code doc command, I think. So okay, that's going to open it up for us. Okay, now we create a new file called .git ignore. Here we specify what files and folders are going to be excluded from our repository. So we can exclude the node modules. That's going to have all our packages. We don't need that in our repository. We're going to ignore git ignore. And we're going to ignore .elastic beanstalk / This is going to be our configuration. We can just ignore that. Okay. Now we're ready to get started. So if we run the command eb init platform node.js, and the region is going to be whatever region you entered when you created an AWS account. For me, I'm in Northern California, so US West 1. You can also choose a different region than your account is. If you press enter right now, it might ask you for your access key and your password. What you can do is just go to your AWS Management Console, click on your account over here, and then you can go to My Security Credentials. Go to Access Key and click on Create New Access Key. And that should generate for you. I've already done that. So I'm just going to enter this command. It's going to take a few minutes, or actually that was pretty quick. Okay, so it created that. And now if we go into our project, we should see an Elastic Beanstalk folder. And that has this config.yml. And right now the environment's null and all that. So now we're going to initialize the environment. So to do that, we're going to run eb create. So here I'm going to say --sample. And here we name our environment. I'm going to call it Node.js project 1. Usually it's the application. So our application is Node.js project 1. And then env for environment. That is going to take a few minutes, I think, to create. You'll know that's done when it says successfully launched environment, or if it says unsuccessfully, and then you have to look a little bit at the docs for how to fix it. But if you followed all the steps, it should be successful. Okay. Next, I'm going to create a folder for our configuration. So that's going to be .eb extensions, and you have to name it exactly like this. .eb extensions. Okay. Now here, I'm going to create a new file called, and it has to be called node-command.config. This is going to be our node command. Here, you have to spell everything exactly right to what I'm doing. So it's a little bit confusing. This is where you'll probably make the most mistakes, but it's only like 3 lines, so it should be okay. Option_settings, AWS elastic beanstalk. First time I did this, I actually spelled it beantalk, and I was so confused about why it wasn't working, and then I was like, oh, it's spelled beantalk. Okay, beanstalk, container, Node.js, node command, Npm Start. Okay, we're good for that. Now we can create our Express or Node.js application. So I'm going to say npm init. Package name, I can keep that. Entry point, I'll change it to app.js. I'll just press enter for everything else. That's okay. And this should have generated a package.json file over here. Now we have the npm start command. So we have to specify the start script. And for start, that's just going to be node dot. And you could also put node app.js, but since my main is app.js, I can just say node dot. Here, I'm going to install Express. And before I do that, I'm just going to make sure my git ignore file has the node modules excluded. Okay. I'll install Express. And I think it's default installed when you create a Node.js project anyway. But still, if it is a lower version, this will be the most recent version. It'll just upgrade it if it's already there. And this created our package.lock.json and our node modules folder, which you can see is faded because our git ignore excludes it. And you notice it says untracked. That's because we haven't committed it to the repository yet. We'll do that after we finish creating our app.js file. So app.js. Here I'll just create a simple Express app. So const express is require Express. I'll say app is Express. App.get at the base URL. That's going to give us a callback function. So the request object, the response object, and we'll say we'll send as a response. Maybe this is my first Node.js project, and a smiley face emoticon. Now here's where it's a little bit different. Instead of saying app.listen 3000 or another port, you have to say app.listen process.environment.port or 3000. And the reason for this is Elastic Beanstalk is going to give us a default port that it wants to use. And so we'll use that. And if it doesn't, like if we're just testing it or running it locally, then we'll just use 3000. Okay, now we're ready to deploy it. So I'm going to say git add dot. Okay, and I'll say git commit. And the message is going to be first Express app. Okay, and it added all our files. Now we're ready to deploy it. So what we do is run eb deploy and our environment name. So for us, that's Node.js project 1 environment. And if you don't remember, you can go to .elasticbeanstalk.config.yml, and then you can just check the environment. So it's Node.js project 1 environment. That's going to take a few minutes. So when that's done, it'll say environment update completed successfully. Click great. Now we can run eb open. Oh, it doesn't have a default environment. So what we can do is we can specify the environment name, or we can just say EBU's Node.js project 1 environment. Okay, now we can say eb open. Okay, that opens, and there we go. We have our message. This is my first Node.js project. Now, what you can actually do is if you go to AWS, go to Elastic Beanstalk, your environments, Node.js project 1 env. So this is the one that we just deployed. We can check the application versions. Here, first Express app, that's the one we just did. And so now every time you want to update it, you can just do git add dot and then git commit -m and the message. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and stay tuned for more tutorials on coding. Thanks, bye.